Hello, I'm Blythe Robinson, and I'm so excited to be joined today with my friend, City Council member Matt Westmoreland, for this new episode of Breaking It Down with Blythe. So, thank you for joining me.
Absolutely.
It's been a minute, so I'm happy to see you.
Likewise.
Yes, and you're doing well?
I am.
Great. So we're going to jump right into questions.
Okay.
And first, you have been in public service probably your whole adult life. So
Right.
What first called you into public service? And then how has your understanding of that responsibility grown since you've been on the city council?
Sure. So I was born and raised here in Atlanta. I am a proud product of our city's public school system. And after college, I came home to teach. And so I got my start in public service through education. And frankly, it was in the classroom where I saw decisions being made by policymakers that sometimes felt very far away from the realities of what was happening in my Carver classroom every day. And so I had the opportunity to join the school board here in Atlanta back in 2014.
Yep.
And then 4 years after that, moved to the city council, where I think, to your question about deepening, I have a renewed appreciation for the importance of building trust all around Atlanta, the complexity of the problems that we're trying to solve all around, and how important it is to be accessible, responsive, present, and to make sure that we're grounding our decisions in the experiences of the people that we serve.
So you said trust, and tell me, can you say a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I started teaching in APS the week before we went through the very public and painful implosion around the cheating scandal.
Yeah.
And so if you think about the trust that was broken through that, we've gone through a really painful redistricting process. And we had an opportunity with a new school board and a new superintendent to kind of turn the page on that chapter of the system. And through a new mission, through a new vision, through a new strategic plan, through new people and new leadership and a lot of listening, was able to build back some of that trust and really make some meaningful progress for kids.
So speaking about meaningful progress, when you think about the future of this city, where do you believe we have the greatest opportunity to accelerate meaningful progress? And so what would it take to get there?
So usually when folks talk about Atlanta, there are two conversations and they're both true at the same time, right? We hear a lot of accolades about being the best, the highest educated, the best place to start a business, one of the best places to raise a family, and one of the cities with the highest income inequality and the lowest social mobility rates in the country. And it's a little jarring to think about how both of those can be true at the same time. And so I think our future depends on harnessing everything that comes from the first, right? From the corporate community that we have, from the amazing philanthropic community, from institutions of higher ed, and being real intentional in all different sectors, whether it's public, private, nonprofit, philanthropic, around the investments we're making in people and in place. And so harnessing what exists in the first truth to make the second truth not true anymore, frankly.
Yeah, I just participated on a panel about that, sort of the income inequality and economic mobility or inability to move, right, in the city. And what are those key components? And one of the things that came up, and I don't want to take us too off topic for this conversation, but we talked a lot about social capital. And when you talk about the great things about Atlanta and the challenging things, like there's a lot of social capital that could connect the two to really push us forward in a different way.
There is. And I think that, one of the roles that government broadly and local government specifically can play is by helping with coordination at all levels, and helping just local government, state government, federal government, corporate, nonprofit, and then just a sustained, focused commitment on articulating here's where we want to go, drawing the roadmap, and then sticking to the roadmap.
Yeah, sticking to it. So I want to get specific around childcare and the work, of course, that we do here at Sheltering Arms. So what do you think, what responsibility do cities like ours have in ensuring working families have access to quality childcare and early education? And then where do you see the biggest gap?
So I think our responsibility is that, I don't need to tell you or probably anybody who's watching this, but childcare and access to quality early learning is critical to the health of children, our families, and by extension, the city. And so I think if you look at Atlanta Public Schools, it looks like the work we did around raising the salaries of pre-K teachers to match all other teachers, or expanding pre-K seats, or building early learning centers. I think if you look at the work the city's done, 3 years ago, Mayor Dickens announced the city's first ever investment in
Incredible.
early learning. And so whether it was the city's money, which was matched to school system money, which was matched to philanthropic dollars, kind of kickstarted this 3-year initiative so that for the first time, really ever, all of those different groups were talking about early learning and childcare. And I feel like now, at the end of that 3-year initiative, it's time to talk about what the future looks like and how we can supersize that.
And that moment was such a big moment. And I remember the announcements and all the press. And it really felt like people were watching that across the country, like, wow, they all came together around early childhood and early learning. And so it was incredible. And I am looking forward to that continued energy around this as an not an issue, but as an important area to stay focused on. So from your perspective then, what role should local government play in strengthening and sustaining high quality early childhood education?
Yeah. So I think local government can be a convener. I think it can be a catalyst. I think it can be a funder. And I think it can be a champion. And so if you think about the ability that we have at City Hall to bring together, just by the nature of being kind of the closest level of government to the people, right? It's City Hall that whether we even have a responsibility or purview over something or not, folks reach out to us.
Yeah.
And so I think we have a chance to convene. I think we have a chance to always be talking about early learning, early child education, childcare. I think the first financial investment we made is really important because it had never been done before.
Yeah.
And the rest of that sentence is now we need to figure out ways to do all of those things. And another thing that I think government can provide, which is scale and consistency, reliability, and stability.
Yeah.
Right. And so saying, here's the initial investment, right? We renovated dozens of early learning centers. We offered hundreds of scholarships. We offered dozens of stipends and professional development. And now we need to have a conversation in a city. I look to a city like New York with over 1 million kids in their school system, and the progress they're making on, full day, full year early learning for 2-year-olds. We've got 4,000 or 5,000 2-year-olds in Atlanta, right? It is a manageable number.
Yeah.
We just have to do the convening and the championing and the coordinating.
And when you think about the convening, like who is that? Who are those key players?
Well, you were in the room back in 2017, 2018 when PACT, when Gears, right, which has been such a phenomenal partner at the local and at the state level and at the federal level.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you don't need me to tell you that a lot of funding comes from federal and the state level. But Gears, put together that first group back in 2017, 2018 that created a report that led us through kind of the first phase of this conversation.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of the template and the framework for how to do it moving forward.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of power in the way that we came together, the members of Gears, to form PACTs, right? Yeah. And there's a lot that can be learned from that. And, we're talking early learning, but I think the key to have those stakeholders from government, from school districts, from the philanthropic community, from the business community, and
From providers,
nonprofit,
large and
and
small.
providers, right? Of different sizes and different family childcare homes, center-based. I think there was so much power in that and coming up with an agreed set of recommendations to then say, this is what we're funding because this is what matters in our city. And I go back to that convening because it was so powerful. And I think that's why things got done. That's why we were able to have that success in getting that dedicated funding.
Sounds like it might be time for round 2.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We'll call our friends.
That's right.
Yeah. So early childhood isn't always at the center of public conversations. And from your perspective, why do you think it should be a priority when we're talking about the future of our city, education, and even workforce development?
Because it is the foundation for literally everything else, right? I taught high school history here in Atlanta, and as a high school teacher, you see perhaps just as well as an elementary middle school teacher that the trajectory of your students starts 15 years before they walk into your classroom, and is frankly increasingly set before they walk into your classroom. And so I think telling folks in the public 90% of a child's brain develops before they turn 5 years old. And then I think the other piece of this is sometimes folks will say that the city needs to be focused on public safety, green space, infrastructure, and we do. And Atlanta Public Schools' charter is to focus on K-12. No one owns the birth to pre-K space, which means we all have to.
And when I think about there's the child's piece, right? So like children being prepared for school piece, and then there's that part about early childhood education and our sector really supporting the economy of a city, right? Like people have to be able to work, and to work.
Much like affordable housing or housing affordability, 8 or 9 years ago, it was a topic that some people were talking about, and now it's a topic that everyone is talking about. Because people, it touches people at all levels of the socioeconomic spectrum.
That's right.
And I think the same is now true of childcare. It is becoming so expensive that it's impacting everybody, and that is it is really important for kids to be ready for kindergarten. It is also, depending on who we're talking to, really important for economic growth, for people to have childcare so they can go to work.
Yeah, and we know we were having a conversation earlier with a partner about just that importance, the second piece, right? Because when that childcare is high quality, stable, affordable, that person is just better,
more able to be present,
focused. Yes, all the things. It's a retention. It's all those great things for business and our economy as well. So both and, right? When we think about the power of early childhood for that child and for the adult as well. So where do you see the greatest opportunity for these public and private partners to come together in ways to truly close gaps for children and families?
I keep going back to 2 things that we've touched on. One, we have done this before. We've done phase 1 before.
Phase 1.
Right? And so we've shown we can come together. We've shown, as Atlanta always does, that all these different sectors, and that's not true of every city, but something about this place
special.
Yeah, kind of brings us together.
Yeah.
And then second is that it is a manageable number.
Yeah.
Like we can do this.
Yeah.
We're not talking about 100,000 or 150,000 kids. We're talking about 4 or 5 or 6 2-year-olds, 4 or 5 or 6 3-year-olds. We can do that.
I don't want to, I'm kind of going down this piece around workforce and the impact of childcare on our economy, and just want to flesh that out a little bit as I'm talking to you, because I think there's so much opportunity for businesses to get involved and engage in this, right? Because I want my team members to be more present, more. I want this as a retention measure for our organization. And I know that by, having some skin in the game, right, I'm impacting my business as well as supporting my team members and this industry, if you will. So, I don't know that I have a question, but I feel like that is a newer part of the conversation, right? Because it's very child focused, and that's very important.
Indeed.
And we don't lose that. And I think at this point, people understand what's happening with children and the power of early childhood education. And we also have to talk about, like, this is supporting our community in ways that go beyond a wonderful
really
place for
important
children to learn, grow, thrive, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's happening more, but
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different line in the, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say. It's like some people are really moved by being ready for kids to be ready.
That's right.
And some people notice when people are either not at work or leave their work, or when it's cheaper for a person to stay home.
Yeah, which is so real, especially with these. The cost is incredible. We heard from someone earlier today in a meeting that her son was looking for child's care, and he found a place that's $2,500 a month. And that's a lot of money.
Yes.
And like, when you think of all the other things you have to do to live every day, your mortgage, your transportation, your food, your health care, that's nearly impossible, right? For our community members to be able to do that. So I want to thank Matt for joining me today and having a chance to catch up because it's been a while. Thank you for sharing a little bit about your interests in public service and your life. And thank you for all that you do for our city.
No, likewise, back at you 10 times over. Appreciate the invite and genuinely all that you do.
Thanks, Matt. So good to see you.
You too.
So thank you for joining me for another episode of Breaking It Down with Blythe. And I look forward to you joining me for the next one. Thanks.